Wow.
Yeah, like you make more money by being sexually confident.
Oh, say it a little louder for the people in the back.
Literally, like,
I'm your host, Ariana, and this is Hot Girls Have. Hello, and welcome back to Hot Girls Have. Do you want to learn how to be more sexually confident? How can you enhance your confidence if you struggle with low sexual self-esteem? Did you know that communicating in the bedroom is a learned skill? Today, I'm talking to Dr. Tara, a well-known researcher, author, coach, and tenured professor of sexual and relational communication. We'll be talking about sexual empowerment and where it comes from, and how to cultivate it in your own life. Dr. Tara, welcome.
hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. We're so excited to have you.
Are you having an orgasmic day?
I knew you were going to start that with that. I knew it. Yes, I am.
Nice.
Except for the traffic. It's fine.
Yeah, I know.
Start with the basics. What is sexual confidence?
Sexual confidence is the belief that you are a capable sexual being, and it's how you exhibit yourself. So sexual confidence, in a way, it is an observable variable, right? Versus sexual self-esteem, as in your introduction, you want to talk about both. Sexual self-confidence is external, is what you exhibit. People can watch you and go, oh, wow, you are a sexually confident person. Sexual self-esteem is internal. It's how you feel about yourself truly. People often ask me, can you fake it? Meaning, can someone come off as a sexually confident person, but they don't actually have high self-esteem?
Right.
And I said, yes. Because confidence is just how you exhibit yourself, right?
It's not fake it till you make it.
Exactly.
Concept.
Some people are able to show a state of confidence because there are two types, trait confidence and state confidence. When you have trait confidence, it means that you have worked on yourself thoroughly and you feel really good about yourself, and then you exhibit yourself that way in an authentic manner. A state confidence is you tricking yourself to be confident in that moment, but then it kind of goes away after. So it's a state. Like it's just there for a moment.
So how do we develop sexual confidence? Is this like a learned skill over time? Is this something that some people just have innately?
It's 100% a learned skill.
Okay.
No one was born sexually confident. Right? Through our developmental years, we form a perception of ourselves, of who we are in relations to others. Like, who are we as a person in a relationship? Who are we as a sexual being? And through personal experiences as well as, so there's three different factors.
Okay.
Personal experiences, which includes your dating experiences, your first time having sex, like how was that experience, and all of those things combined. There's also media. Media is a huge factor contributing to your sexual confidence. If you're watching the media and like the way they have sex is like it's so sexy and spontaneous and beautiful, and the way you have sex is not like that,
Right.
then that affects your self-confidence, right? Your sexual confidence. So the media is a big factor. And then the third factor is, believe it or not, I did this big study last year and I found that your family is a big factor contributing to your sexual confidence. So, you might be like
communication
a 28-year-old woman and didn't realize, oh my gosh, what my mom said when I was 10 like stuck with me in my bedroom. Yeah.
So I'm curious, go back to the social media piece of things. Are you seeing that something like perhaps with the increase of social media over time, obviously like TikTok, Instagram, we just have so many more forms of social media now than we used to. I mean, you mentioned movies. Obviously, movies have been around for so long, but like, I'm curious if maybe you've noticed something with the increase of just different forms of social media.
Yes, 100%. And it has, I think it has like both negative and positive effects, right? Social media in general. But when it comes to your sexual confidence, social media can play quite a negative role if you are not consuming it wisely. You maybe are looking at other people's pages and they seem to have this perfect relationship. They seem to have like the skinniest body. They seem to have, all these like purses and travels but it's social media.
Right.
So it's curated. It's not everyday life. So that can, through like the theory of social comparison, that can actually deeply affect the way you feel about yourself and therefore affect the way you show up. And you might not be as confident because in general, when you're on social media, you just don't feel like you're as good at as these other people.
Right.
Yeah.
So walk me through, so you said there are 3 main factors, right? So with each of those factors, how do we actively combat how they're impacting us?
The best 2 ways to grow your sexual confidence would be, 1 is knowledge. The more information you have, the more confident you feel. So knowledge in sexuality, read sexuality books, listen to sexuality podcasts, read articles, watch certain things that you feel is educational to you. The more information you have about pleasure, about orgasm, about communication, the more you're going to feel like, okay, like I know what this is about. People feel unconfident when they don't have information.
Right.
Think about like going to a party and you know no one.
I was even going to say like taking a test.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Totally.
It's anxiety ridden when you don't know what's going on. But when you have a lot of information, you're like, oh, I got this.
Right.
Like I know this. So knowing is really good. But knowing alone is not enough because sexual confidence, like sex is about doing. So the second aspect of growing your sexual confidence is practice. And practice doesn't mean having a lot of sex. Same thing with sex positivity. People are like, do you have to have a lot of sex to be sex positive? I said, no, absolutely not. Sex positivity is a mindset. But yes, growing your confidence through practice, meaning learning how to touch yourself. Do a practice, what is called pleasure mapping, where you massage your entire body and keep track of where feels good for you.
So much of sexual confidence doesn't come from, like you said, practicing necessarily with other people, but practicing with yourself. Like getting in tune with yourself will make you more sexually confident in front of someone else.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes
so
sense.
practice, a lot of it is just with yourself. And then some with your partner. You know, that helps too.
So, okay, now let's talk about sexual self-esteem because this is totally separate, but also very intertwined. Yes.
Yeah. So, like I said, sexual confidence is how you exhibit yourself. So it's external. Sexual self-esteem is internal. How you feel about yourself, how you feel about your worth. Low sexual self-esteem may manifest itself like faking an orgasm. Because you don't feel like you're worthy of having a lot of time be spent massaging your body or being stimulated to the point where you can experience pleasure. You want to please your partner and therefore you're faking your orgasm so that your partner can feel good, but you don't because you didn't have an orgasm.
Right.
I had low sexual self-esteem for a long time, and I have done a lot of practices to get out of that like hole. So I know exactly what it feels like to want other people, like your sexual partner, to like you, to appreciate you, to have a good time when you don't really prioritize yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
So tell me, when you're trying to increase your sexual confidence and your sexual self-esteem, should you be doing different things to increase both? Is it like I can do one thing and both will increase? Obviously, time is a factor here. Obviously, knowledge, like you mentioned, and obviously practicing and getting to know your own body. But are there like 2 things that you should be doing to increase your sexual confidence and your sexual self-esteem?
Yes. So because the 2 variables are highly correlated, any kind of self-love, self-care practices that you do will automatically enhance both. Like I said, for confidence, it's about learning and practice, right? That's for confidence. But it also positively affects your self-esteem.
Right.
Now, when it comes to particularly your sexual self-esteem, there are 2 practices that you can do in order to experience more self-worth. And the first one is actually meditation and journaling. So it's mindfulness, sexual mindfulness practices through meditation that is about more like self, like affirmations and about self love and self-worth. that meditation allows you to, well, first off, meditation is an amazing practice.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a million
Do you meditate
great things.
often?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, me
Every
too.
single, I used to be a morning meditator, and then I realized it's really important for me to end my day with meditation, starting it. I'm a person that can jump out of bed and I can go run 15 miles if I need to. Like, I don't need caffeine.
Oh gosh.
I barely need an alarm clock.
I need this energy in my life.
I can jump out of bed and just go. So starting my day with meditation just wasn't very good for me. I don't know why, it just didn't really click. But ending it with meditation was so like calming, soothing, and also I was able to like retrace my footsteps of the day, like really. I don't know. I just felt myself like learning so much more from my day, and I had so many more takeaways, et cetera, et cetera.
I really love that you shared that, because I think there is a misconception that like meditation is a part of morning routine for some reason. I think whenever I talk to people about meditation, they always say, especially if they have kids, like women that have kids, they're like, girl, in the morning, I'm taking care of my kids,
Right.
like trying to get them into clothes, eat, take them to school. I'm like, you don't have to do it at that time. You can do it maybe 5 minutes right after you drop them off.
Exactly.
You can do it before you go to bed.
You can do it before lunch.
Exactly. Yeah, I love that you share that you do it at night. I tend to do it towards the morning because I couple it with my thankful journal practice, which I do every single day for the last 4 years. And
Wow.
it has changed my life. I think I'm significantly more grateful because every day I force myself to think about what I'm grateful for.
Right.
And at first, I think the first couple of months was a bit like hard because it feels forced sometimes to be like, okay, I am grateful of this and I'm going to write it down. But now it's so easy. I sit down and immediately I'm grateful of the sunshine.
Yeah.
I sit down, I'm immediately grateful of my husband. Like, so I think it's a practice that you just have to push through. And I think maybe after a certain period, like maybe 2 weeks or a month, then it just becomes norm.
So what does a journaling session to increase your sexual confidence even look like?
Yes. Oh, I love it because as a part of what I'm trying to do is helping people feel more confident, have higher sexual self-esteem through like their own ability. You don't need external validation. Like through your own ability, you can feel good about yourself and feel like sexual and confident and have all of those things. And you don't need like external, not approval, but like motivation. Because people are like, oh, I want to look good so that,
So I get something in return from someone else.
Yes, exactly.
When in actuality,
like,
that's not why you want to look good. You want to look
Exactly.
good for you.
For
Because
yourself.
sometimes it just feels good to look good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So in terms of journaling, it can be with your body image, which is a big, big factor contributing to sexual self-esteem, is your body image. I think when I was studying this variable, I found that how you feel about your body actually account for more than 50% of your like concept of sexual self-esteem.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So how you feel about your body means a lot.
Well, think about it. I mean, I guess if you don't love your body, why would somebody else?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's, it might sound like writing down, I appreciate my body. My body can receive immense pleasure. So all of those statements, if you write it down and you write it down every single day and you do it long enough, your brain starts to believe it. Your brain is a supercomputer. Like you can make it believe in anything. Look at all the, I guess it's not like the best example, but religions and cults.
Right.
Like
true.
You get people can believe in anything.
They can.
So why not believe in yourself?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautifully said. Oh my gosh, so true. Okay, so tell me, how are some ways that having high sexual confidence can manifest in your life that maybe isn't sexually? Like I'm just thinking through like having a high sexual confidence and sexual self-esteem probably manifests in other ways than just in the bedroom.
Oh, I love that you asked that question. I feel like you know me so well. I have been preaching about how like when you feel good about your sexuality, it manifests everywhere. You are a better partner, a better friend, a better daughter. And honestly, it has immensely affect my business and my husband's business.
Wow.
Yeah, like you make more money by being sexually confident.
Oh, say it a little louder for the people in the back.
Literally, like, because I used to be someone who had very low sexual confidence. And actually, I experienced a lot of anxiety, like a lot of sexual anxiety. I was married when I was younger. And in that relationship, I was a completely different person from now. So I know that journey. When people say, well, Tara, not everyone can be like you. I'm like, I'm not like me either.
Right.
I grew to get here. So when I think about that journey between that, relationship and then the journey, my own personal journey until now, and now how I exist within my relationship as well as within my community, I am a completely different person.
I have a question for you. So that old version of yourself, that past version of yourself, I imagine there's probably some people who are listening who maybe resonate with that past version of yourself. Give me some, like maybe some characteristics of that past version of yourself that somebody listening could say, oh my gosh, that is me. I need to work on my sexual confidence. Because I'd imagine that there's probably some people listening that don't necessarily think this conversation is for them, but it is.
That is a brilliant question. So let's identify some of how I used to feel. The first one that is pretty vivid in my memory is I was always faking my orgasm. I didn't know how to get there. I didn't know how to experience pleasure in my body. I didn't know how to communicate it with him. So I just accepted it, and I wanted so bad to be perceived as a good partner, because that perception meant so much more to me than like self-love and worth. The second thing that immediately came to my mind is I was tiptoeing around him a lot. Like it's like walking on eggshells. Like I'm afraid to bring up our issues. I'm afraid to bring up my concerns, especially
because you
when
didn't
it
feel
comes
worthy?
to sex. I didn't feel worthy enough to bring it up. I didn't feel like I have the confidence to even have that kind of conversation. I didn't know how to start, and I would just accept that was my normalcy, is walking on eggshells around him in regards to our relationship issues and our sex issues. That was I stuck with that for a long time.
That's
A
hard.
long time. Did not bring up anything for a long time.
That wears on you.
Oh, totally. So yeah, when I finally like initiated our separation, it was like a bomb exploded because we had no idea. Well, he had no idea.
Yeah.
Because I lied so good and lied to myself as well. So that was the first two signs, I would say. The third sign of low sexual confidence is how I treated my body. I was drinking a lot because if I'm not happy at home, then I want to make sure I'm lubricated. So I'm just always kind of vibing.
Right. Thank you for speaking about that. I know, first of all, that must be hard to even speak about. But second of all, I think one of the hardest pieces of this conversation, and obviously you're in this field professionally, so I'm sure you see this as well, but people don't talk about this. It's insanely uncomfortable, and it's really hard to come to terms with. And even if people who are, I'm sure there's plenty of listeners who are going to hear this conversation, it's going to resonate with them, and they're not going to do anything about it. Because it's scary, because it's hard, because it's terrifying, because those are really hard conversations. Those are really hard facts of reality that you have to come to terms with. What do you say to some of your clients? Because I know that you also help coach people as well. What are you saying to some of your clients who are coming to you and who are having those issues, but who are terrified to do anything about it?
I immediately tell them that it will take at least 6 months for you to reap the benefits of sexual wellness practices that we're going to start now. There is almost absolutely no way to learn something today and tomorrow feel immediately sexually confident. It's just not the way it is. It's like when you were a college student, And maybe you still are. I don't
Oh
know.
no,
You
I'm
look
not
really young.
anymore. I am pretty young though.
Yeah, like it's like being in college and wanting to get a good grade. You don't just like read one book and next day get a good grade. You know,
Right.
like there's a lot of
That's
practices.
interesting that you
and-
prepare them for the
Yeah.
journey because it's
Yes.
going to be a long journey.
It is. A
I
long
get that.
journey.
I
And first
appreciate
you have
that
to
honesty.
admit that,
honestly.
you know,
Yeah.
because I think a lot of coaches try to sell people on like these like. It's like catfishing almost. Like,
Yes.
Like take this course, like 3 ways so that you can-
$10,000 tomorrow.
Yeah, literally. Or
Yep.
like pull women tomorrow
Yep.
by this course. I'm
Mhm.
like, you won't be pulling any women tomorrow. Trust me. I
Right.
study this. You know, I
Right.
don't trust these coaches.
Mhm.
So in my head, there are lots of practices that are research backed to help increase your sexual confidence, but it takes time. So my very first tip to people is it will take 6 months. The thing about talking about sex is it brings you closer together. Always. Even if it's a conflict at first or an argument at first, it will bring you closer together because now you are talking about something that you have never talked about before.
Right.
It's a brand new barrier that you're getting rid of. And now you have this authentic bond. I'm going to say this, it's controversial. But I feel like I sometimes question, do you have an authentic bond if you don't talk about sex?
Why is that controversial? I'm sorry, maybe I'm being controversial.
Yeah.
But how is that controversial? Do
Because
people
a
think
lot of
you
people
shouldn't
think
talk
sex
about?
isn't something that you need to talk about. Like it just happens. Like if you're in love and if this relationship is meant to be, if this is like the one and your soulmate, like the sex should just be good. And that's the belief that I've heard
What?
a lot. Yeah.
What, that I'm
And
like
maybe
sitting here
because
kind of about to laugh because that is so baffling to me that people
Yeah.
just think that conversation isn't necessary.
Well,
What?
You know, I know why. Because you're also in a personal development like industry.
Yeah.
And we all know that it's necessary to
Right.
talk about sex. But if you know, ask someone that's been with their husband for 10 years, and these are like a lot of my clients, have been together for 10 years, never talked about sex. I asked them this question, do you feel like your bond is authentic if you have to hide one portion of your identity?
And what did they say?
I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, I love them dearly. Like, I said, that's not the same.
Yeah, I know.
Loving
It's
someone versus having a authentic bond is not the same.
Right.
So that's the kind of question that I ask them and I push them. And then, of course, through the course of 3 to 6 months, we work together on various practices. Like we do the success visualization together. What does it look like when you feel so good in your body, when you show up confidently? We do a lot of the journaling practices together. We do a lot of assessment, like a lot of questionnaires. And, you know, I ask them different protocol questions and we measure it through like each 2 weeks. We measure how you feel about this, how you feel about this. Because, you know, as a professor, the way I approach things is still very much scientific.
Right.
Even though I very much appreciate like Eastern view of sexuality, like Tantra. I appreciate that as well. So I'm trying to marry the two by teaching people like sexual meditation and like tantric energy and
Right.
how to build like tantric bond with your partner, but also measuring things through like questionnaires and testing people, which is more like Western.
So we've kind of touched on this already a little bit, but I want to get into this concept of sexual communication. You've said that sex is 70% you and 30% your partner. So what is sexual communication and why is it important? Other than, I mean, duh, talk about it.
Exactly. But you know, when I say sex is 30% you, people are often confused. Like, isn't it 50-50? I often have to explain like, no, it's not. When you are in a sexual encounter.
Why is sex 70% you and 30% your partner? Explain that.
Because you are responsible for your own pleasure. The other person is just a person. The other person is not God, is not someone that knows you deeply. Even if you've been together 20 years, I don't care. You have to communicate in order to accomplish a goal.
Right.
And if you think of sexual connection or having a good sexual encounter that's pleasurable for both people, that is like an accomplishment. So how do you approach things in order to accomplish something, you communicate,
Mm-hmm.
right? So for me, when I say sex is 70% is like you need to bring that to the table.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not only that you need to come into the sexual encounter being completely ready, open all your senses, ready to receive pleasure and give pleasure, putting all in with your effort and focus and attention. So all of that is a lot already, right? But then there's also communication. You got to give feedback. You got to ask questions.
And you got to know what you want.
Exactly.
And you got to know what to ask for, too.
Exactly. You are responsible for your own pleasure. And if your partner isn't able to have sex with you in a way that's pleasurable, it's your fault.
Ooh.
That's controversial.
Right.
Because you have to give them feedback.
Yeah.
However,
And
let's say you do give them let's say you do communicate in a nice way and you give them feedback, but then they are not taking feedback well, then that's their issue.
Okay.
Yeah. Then that's their problem, right? You've done your job. Like, you've done your part. And if your partner doesn't want to improve, which I've seen in a lot of couples, not only in sex, but in relationship, one person is stuck in the same place. The other person has improved.
I was going to say, I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like a lot of the couples that are coming to see you about maybe some of these issues they think that are just in the bedroom actually manifest in their relationship in totally other ways, like what we mentioned before.
Totally.
Yeah.
In every way.
Yeah.
In every way. The relationship has so many problems now because of the frustrations that they both experience in the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the funny thing is, have you ever had a friend who just loves to be perceived as perfect?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh
like,
my
we
gosh,
don't have a problem. Just so in denial.
Yep.
I was that person in my 20s, so I know exactly like the motivation why you want to be perceived as perfect. But I often have that kind of clients. They are, you know, they're business women. They're successful in their own way, and therefore they have a lot of confidence in that sense, like work-wise. Like, oh, I've accomplished so much, and therefore I know exactly what to do. And I come to you like, just give me some tips, and I'm gonna implement it tomorrow, and we'll be good.
And you're like, nah, girl, that's not how that works.
Yeah, 3 to 6 months,
Yeah.
and they just can't believe it. They just sit there in disbelief. Like, no, I just need one coaching session. Give me all the tips.
What is a problem that you're seeing that's really common today?
For individuals, I'm going to split it up because men and women, I've been seeing different things.
Okay.
For single people, men, like heterosexual men, there are a lot of men in their 20s that have erectile dysfunction.
Really?
In your 20s. That's like unheard of in the past.
Where is that coming from?
So much, you know, social comparison through social media,
Gotcha.
a lot of porn.
We just need to throw away our
vaping,
phones.
like, yeah, like, I mean, there are a lot of good things about social media too, you know, like learning and connecting with friends. But if you're not wise in using it, it affects you in so many ways. And one of them is sexual anxiety. And for women, a lot of times it's, and I'm surprised as well that this is a lot of times their problem, is how to feel and project femininity.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said before, I have a lot of career successful women clients who have to embody a lot of masculine traits and assertiveness in their work in order to get things done.
I see.
They are business owners. They are like doctors,
and it's just hard to flip that switch.
Yeah, they own tech companies, and it's really hard to go from telling everyone what to do all day long and being responsible of, you know, such huge teams to come home and just relax and surrender. It's hard.
Wow.
So when they have seen that, like, you know, oh, I'm a professor and I have my business, like, how do you juggle all those things plus be like soft and feminine and have that kind of relationship where I do let my husband take care of a lot of things for me, like, no shame. So I help women embody femininity and understand what femininity is like for them, because femininity is very subjective. Like, what is feminine to you might not be for me, and vice versa.
So where do you start with helping a client work through that?
Yeah. So there is a chart where it's a masculine feminine chart. So you first take like a survey in order to place yourself on a chart. So I can know like where are we starting? Are we like super masculine? Are we towards the middle? Like what are some actual concerns here? And then from that, I built like a small program of what they would do daily after work in order to reprogram themselves. So it may look like when they first come home, they take a bath. And that's their reset time. And maybe
Gotcha.
through the bath, they do like a 5-minute feminine, like divine meditation. That's one way. There are like hundreds of ways. Another way could be instead of actually one couple, this is what they do. When she comes home, he comes over and takes her shoes off. And at first she's like, that's cringe. And I'm like, no, it's fun. It's fun. Let's try it.
Yeah.
And if you absolutely hate it, we can quit it after 1 week. Loves it, still does it. It's like over a year now.
It's like a signal to yourself to
Yes, it's just to reprogram yourself. You gotta have like a switch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was her switch.
I love that. That's so simple and so sweet.
And I have the same thing. Mine is like dancing. When
Yeah.
when I'm home, when I wake up, I start like dancing around. And my partner kind of knows like, oh, do you want coffee or tea? I'll make you coffee or tea.
Aw.
And that's every single morning.
You dance in the morning?
Yeah.
Oh my
I dance
gosh.
every morning.
Wait, I love that. I'm out running in the morning and you're out dancing in the morning.
Oh, I'm just like wiggling my butt every single morning. And that's like a sign that, okay, I surrender. I
Yeah.
want to just live comfortably in my body.
Yeah.
And I'll show up as positively as possible. And that's how I start my day. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, how do we encourage healthier relationships?
When you think about building healthy relationships, the first thing is self-knowledge.
Yeah.
So this could be through, like I said, reading, through practice, through whatever it is, maybe going to therapy, maybe seeing a coach. Like I have a life coach that I absolutely love and I've seen her for many years now and we work through a lot of my issues, which is workaholism.
Fair.
Yeah. So doing those things in order to create this like very strong sense of self-knowledge allows you to show up, I think, for yourself in a relationship. And I think that's like the foundation of a healthy relationship. The second one is building your communication skill set. So when it comes to communication, there's intra-communication, the things you say about yourself.
Right.
There's interpersonal communication. What are you saying to your partner? There's conflict management. How do you communicate when you are in conflict? And then there's communication and reciprocity. Do you ask enough questions to your partner in order for them to feel like you care and you pay attention and you put in the effort? So building all these like skill sets will help you maintain a healthy relationship and enhance the connection.
I read something once that said that a relationship is not 50-50 like you mentioned before. I know that you say that sex is 70% you and 30% your partner, but I read that a relationship is 100% you, 100% your partner.
I love that.
And I feel like everything you just said kind of verifies that. Like you have to come to the table 100% in tune and here for yourself in order to be in tune and here for your partner.
Like, have you ever dated someone where you felt like they are not bringing 100% themselves?
And it's hard.
It's hard.
It's very hard.
And like, who are you to give them criticism, right?
Right. It's important to learn. It's important to try. It's important to grow. It's important to be more in tune with yourself, more in tune with your partner, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, it's just about being honest. And if you can't bring 100%, that's okay. You just need to communicate that.
Yes, yes. That is a great way to put it, is being honest. When you feel like you can't be honest, is it because you don't want to hurt their feelings? Or is it because you don't want them to perceive you negatively?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which now goes into a little bit of dark psychology.
Right.
But I'm always interested in
that's
whether or not
so
what
fascinating.
people do is of self-interest or other interest. And I've noticed, even, back in my 20s with all those relationship problems, I noticed that a lot of times back in the days, I used to think it's for them. But no. It was for me. It was so that they perceive me positively because I need that external validation because I had low self-esteem.
Right. So we love ending every episode with one key takeaway that listeners can drop in their group chats. What is yours?
I would say sexual communication is true sexual liberation. It's not about having a lot of sex. It's not about enjoying casual sex. It's about the ability to communicate your sexual self fully and truly. And that is sexual liberation.
Amen to that. Dr.
Amen.
Tara, thank you so much for being here. This was such a powerful conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of Hot Girls Have. You can find anything we mentioned in our show notes. Want more? Visit our website or check out our social media. This podcast is brought to you by Belly Welly, leading the charge in women's gut health.